are back. We're moving into our second conversation for today on Open Your Eyes. And this time we're focusing on manatees and protecting our very precious population here. We're joined by Jamal Galves, coordinator of Sea to Shore Alliance. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
So, where are we with the issue of protecting our manatees? I was watching an interview with you talking about the importance of Belize and a particular area of Belize that you were advocating for people to pay particular attention to.
Correct.
But where are we and how comfortable are you looking into 2019 for where we're going in the work that you're doing?
I was looking on the social media the other day and noticed this 10-year challenge thing. Everybody's partaking in it, and I looked at it from a manatee's perspective, and 10 years ago compared to now, things have gotten worse over the period of time. And this last year, 2018, we had 46 stranded manatees in the entire country, which is the largest number ever recorded. So there's definitely great need for concern in regards to the numbers continue to go up despite efforts. Perhaps our efforts need to be increased. Perhaps we're not reaching people at the magnitude in which we need to. Yeah. So the work continues to ensure that the population comes back to a stable position.
You say stranded, that means it didn't die?
Stranded include dead and alive.
Okay.
It could be an animal that may have been injured and just needed some minor assistance and return back to the wild. It could be an animal that's dead or needs rehabilitation.
Can you talk to the people out there who are like, manatees, so what? You know, they're not bees, they're not, so what? Let's just let the tourists do what they do, and, let both people enjoy themselves. It's just natural, correlation between survival of the fittest and just what it is. Just forget about it. Let's stop wasting money on this manatee thing. Talk to them.
Correct. Some people without the knowledge and information may look at it in that regard, but manatees are more closely related to and closely tied to our lifestyle than people may think. Just the mere fact that Belize has the last stronghold on this population doesn't make it only important for Belize, but for globally. It means that if the population in Belize is lost, we can lose the species on a global scale, and it won't never come back. But also, manatees play a very important role in our ecosystem. In regards to the fact that they're herbivores, they eat a lot of seagrass, means that they excrete a lot. The excretion provides food for small fishes and crustaceans. Small fish feed on big fish, and then we
eat the big fish.
In some other way or the other, we may have enjoyed some manatee poop. But also in terms of tourism.
That's a message I'll have with me all day long, Jamal.
Also in regards to tourism being a major income to the country, and many tourists come here to see manatees. This is one of the only places in the world you can actually see manatees in the wild, in their natural habitat, and that's the best way to see it, as opposed to seeing it in a marine park or a water tank or something like that. And it's just connected in so many ways. The ecosystem is dependent on manatees to strive, and an economy will collapse if an ecosystem cannot survive. So they're all tied in one way or the other.
Could you talk to us about, as well, I mean, it seems that, I don't know if I've missed it, but the scientific part of it, are people coming in to study the manatees? Because, if you only have, it's kind of like archaeology with the Mayan temples, we have people coming in just to deal with, or the reef, people coming just to study that. Do we have an increase of persons coming to study manatee in Belize, and are we getting benefit from the scientific research?
Definitely, the organization that I'm working with have been in Belize. It's an international organization based in Florida. The collaboration is with U.S. Geological Survey and University of Florida and other scientists and researchers. But having come into Belize since 1997 to study these species, since Belize has the last stronghold, to get an understanding on the species so that we can put measures in place to protect them. The research that has been carried out over the years, since 1996, we've caught 186 animals, so we literally know 186 manatees. Once they're caught, they're inserted with a pit tag that they put in dogs to identify them, because you can look at the manatee and say that's Benny, that's Jamie, because they all look alike. They do have different personality, though, I must say. But yeah, they do have different personality, and some animals you can tell just based on their behavior. Some things that they'll do, like for instance, there's a manatee at Swallow Key that likes to scratch his back on poles. They're crazy things that they do, but we have with over the years of collecting data, we have more understanding of these species. We know the areas that they like to go. We know areas that they like to hang out. We know the things that the food that they prefer, habitat that they prefer. And that gives us the food for thought, the thing that we need to protect them. For instance, over the years, we've seen the critical areas of manatees being Belize City, specifically the Belize River mouth, and Placencia Lagoon. Those two areas are very critical to the survival of the species. And unfortunately, those two areas are not protected. So we've been lobbying. We're hoping that the government officials are listening to make measures in place to take that step to try and protect these areas before there's nothing there to actually protect.
You mean like make it a reserve or some kind of protected area?
Correct. Placencia Lagoon has been proposed for a wildlife sanctuary for a couple of years now. The Southern Environmental Association and organizations such as Wildlife Fund has been pushing. We've joined the cause specifically because manatees are in the area. It's a critical habitat for manatees. But the protection haven't been passed. Haven't been proposed to cabinet as yet. The investigation and the data has already been collected and presented to the government for them to look at. And we're hoping that they'll do so sooner than later, not because these things don't pay taxes or vote. It doesn't mean that they're not important.
Yeah.
But we need people to get on board to voice their opinion about these causes, as well as Belize River. We don't only just have manatees there, dolphin, fishes. That's where we get our water, and that's where we drink. That's where our water comes from, and that area isn't even protected. How can you not protect such a critical area, not just for wildlife or for human livelihoods?
But wouldn't it be a dollars and cents issues? If you make the Placencia Lagoon a wildlife sanctuary, what happens to the development and potential investment opportunities there?
It will only increase in the sense that the habitat will be more pristine. There will be more wildlife, and the value of it will even go up, because to have a manatee in your backyard, that scales up the property in larger scale. And we're not necessarily against development, but do it in a more sustainable way, not tearing down the mangrove, dredging the seagrass which manatees eat, destroying the habitat. There is a way that you can develop with a conscious mind that the environment is not just for human beings, but also for wildlife as well.
I'm curious as to how you would implement the protection over the river, because it's a waterway. And it's used for private purposes, for commercial purposes, and it's a main thoroughfare. Correct.
When I say protection, I don't mean locking people out in any sense or any regard, but to more kind of regulate the activities. Like for instance, I wouldn't encourage people setting gill nets in a river. If you set a gill net across the river, you'll take everything that goes by in that river, including manatees, dolphins, fishes of all different size. And we've been seeing issues of gill nets being in the river, which I haven't seen in years until now. Speeding in specific areas, speeding not just kill manatees, but it erodes the bank. If you pay attention, you'll notice that that river is getting wider every year. It's maybe smaller, maybe taking away small pieces, but it is getting wider every year because of the high speed traffic. Hunting is happening in the river. A lot of illegal activities occur in the river, but to have some level of protection, it means that there'll be more enforcement, more monitoring, more management.
Have you heard the fishermen who publicly were saying that gill nets were getting a bad name, and that the gill nets which are used in Belize, and they brought examples,
can't affect
manatees, and really just scapegoating gill nets, and that, man, come on.
The effort to try and put a ban on gill net is not to damage or hamper anyone's progress. Particularly my organization, we're working in southern villages, particularly in St. Bike and Placencia, which is an area that gill net is used heavily, and which is an area that we know that manatees are caught to be poached in gill nets. Anything that get entangled in a gill net is going to eventually drown. You see the size of a manatee. The matches of a gill net cannot be that bigger than a manatee to pass through it. And they can hardly even see there. They don't have really good vision, so they'll get entangled in the net and eventually drown. We've had cases in the past where manatees have been poached due to being entangled in gill net. Some people see it as a bycatch, and some people actually intentionally go into these areas looking for these animals, because it has been some out of a tradition in some cultures for them to consume manatees.
Which culture?
People eat manatee.
People do eat manatee. We've seen cases in St. Bike, we've seen cases in Hopkins, we've seen cases in Corozal. Recently, there was a guy selling manatee meat as grouper, a fisherman. So we know that there are instances of it. It's not as bad as it used to be. The reason why manatees are endangered today in Belize is because they used to hunt it heavily in decades ago, but now with awareness and efforts, people have changed their behaviors. And I understand and respect some cultures and tradition, but some cultures and tradition has to be put aside until something is stable. You can, what makes you feel like you're more privileged than the other person to consume something that is considered endangered, that there's not much for you to have?
But poaching is not the predominant threat to manatees.
It's not the predominant trend.
It's boats.
It's boats, particularly boats, and destruction of coastal habitat, which is very difficult to measure, but just think of taking away the home, taking away seagrass that manatees eat. It means that they have to move to another area, find a new home, to be able to reproduce, to be able to have a healthy lifestyle. Because manatees are a great indicator species. If their habitat is unhealthy, it means that they're unhealthy, and that's what we see in animals that we've caught. Over the years, the animals that we've caught, we also take blood samples and then to look at their health. We take their weight, take their fat levels, their measurements. And some of these animals we've caught 7, 8 times randomly. So we can look at it and say, oh, this animal have grown 3 feet over the year. Or, oh, the animal was healthy 5 years ago in Gills Point Manatee, and now it's in Placencia, and the blood work doesn't look too healthy. We're seeing stuff such as trace element, mercury levels in manatee blood, which we'd never seen in years. But with a lot of dredging, tearing up the sediments, tearing up these metals from underground, and manatees eating on seagrass where these sediments may make them observe these mercury levels, and like humans, they cannot get rid of it either, and it can eventually poison them if they have high levels of these ions in them.
You've had quite a bit of partnerships with BTB, with the Fisheries Department, in trying to get, especially the boats, who are the primary threats for the manatee population, to recognize their own role in minimizing the incident. Why do you think it hasn't stopped?
It hasn't stopped particularly. I think if you follow the BTV report every year, the tourism numbers go up, which is good for Belize. It's good for our economy. But also, with the increase in tourism means that an increase in tourism activities, and it means that we as an organization, our effort has to continue to increase as well, to keep up with the increase in the numbers. It means that there's more boats in the water. Some people may say that there's more manatees to be killed. Depends on how you look at it. But I look at it as every manatee that's being killed is one less in our environment. And we're nowhere close to stable to consider one manatee. The value of a manatee is unknown. But just think about it. A boat takes out 30 passengers, charges maybe $70 per head. They go there to see manatees, which is a free resource. There's no cost in. Why kill something?
There are manatee tours. People go to see manatees.
Yeah, it's a very popular tour as well, and it's so easy to see. You can go to the remote. You know that they're going to be there. It's free of cost. You take home 100% profit. Why kill something that you know that?
Well, the cost of the boat gas is...
Yeah, that doesn't...
Overhead, but I'm joking.
Yeah.
What is a healthy population size? What ideally would you, both in terms of increments, you'd like to see for 2019 it increase to this amount, and what is an overall good number for us to have?
Right now, the population is estimated to be around 800 to 1,000 individual, but which
is the largest.
Which is the largest in the world, and if you take into consideration, it takes someone maybe 9 to 12 years to reproduce, to have a young one. They normally only have one, and they'll probably have 2 or 3 within their lifetime. If you have 1,000 and let's say 600 is male, it means that it's even at more risk. Hence the reason for more research to have a better understanding of the population and numbers.
You must be really sad when you find a dead female manatee.
Especially a female manatee, because they know that there's one loss that I won't ever get back, and this is one that maybe could have contributed 2 or 3 more to the population. I think if the number can go up to, I wish 3,000 to 4,000, that would be, I would rest. I feel like I can take a break and try invest my time in something else. But right now my time is critical for these species to ensure that the population gets up. I'm hoping to get people on board, particularly stakeholders and Belizeans, to feel a pride in this species, to want to do something about it.
But given the fact that they have such a slow reproductive cycle, I remember you saying a couple of years back that it was strong 1,000, now we're at 800. It's more important to maintain what is now.
Correct.
Because you won't really see increases till another decade.
Correct. And over the years,
down.
correct. And over the years, we've been trying to monitor the numbers closer to see if there's increase. There have been slight increase, but with the slight increases, the increase in debt rates, it kind of balances off. So I believe if we can take the debt rates down, perhaps 20 less, that's for me is improvement. Or one less than the year before is a drastic improvement. Yeah, it means that we're going a step in the right direction as opposed to taking 2 steps forward and 3 backwards.
Do you think, and you know, I imagine someone who is in the tourism industry or someone who's in a boat in the river, they perhaps don't intentionally want to hurt a manatee.
Correct.
So perhaps the issue is enforcement. I mean, how else can you remedy this? Because I have a hard time believing that Kevin in his boat, even or as a fisherman or as a tour guide, is zipping through wanting to hurt a manatee.
Correct. I don't think that there's anybody in Belize that would intentionally hit a manatee because it will cause damage to your boat and your engine. As also, I don't think people has that. They don't have that
malicious.
way to want to just run over a manatee. I think that people sometimes it's lack of knowledge. Some people don't know. Like I said, the increase in the tourism numbers means that they're increasing employment in tourism. Yeah. Hence, our efforts needs to be continued to make these tour guides aware, and we're grateful for support, like for instance, from the grant from our fund, and that we get to do tour guide trainings and work close with stakeholders and being patrols. I'm grateful for support from for people like UNO that provides fuel for us to go out there and do patrols along with the Port Authority to enforce. But we can't be out there every day, that's the unfortunate thing. Yeah. And we have regulations in place in regards to no-wake zones. I believe that with compliance, we'll see a change in the numbers that are being killed. But unless you're out there every day, people don't necessarily comply, because I've observed from the land to see what are people actually doing when I'm not out there in a boat. Yeah. And you'll see the same people that you see slowing down while you're out there, not slowing down now. But there have been drastic changes in what has been happening in terms of some tour companies have been very cooperative. Yeah. Some tour companies have been very nice in terms of attending the workshops and changing their behaviors and trying to be stewards of the species. So I'm hopeful that we can get everybody on board and to do the same.
Yes. Okay, so somebody who's out there who perhaps wants to do their part, what can they do differently? Where am I supposed to slow down? How slow am I supposed to go? Because if I'm rushing back to that cruise ship, Jamal, it's more important to me that I get them in time, and I really just pray that there's no manatee in my way.
It's interesting because we look at the time frame of the boat tours, and you'll be surprised that these boats would actually be killing a manatee to save 2 minutes. So think about you're killing an endangered species just to save 2 minutes of your time. Like I said, through a grant from our fund, we've installed new signs last week. So it's quite visually noticeable where these zones are. The signs are clearly marked, so you know the way the no-wake zones are. And if you're a boater, a licensed boater, you should know what a no-wake zone means. We've emphasized it in the workshops so that these guys know how do you actually traverse in areas where manatees are. How do you identify manatees? What are the best ways to look out? And we've tried our best to ensure that these guys are changing their behaviors, and we're hopefully that this year is going to be a better year. We started off with our efforts already, and we hope to implement more efforts to ensure that change comes sooner rather than later.
All right. Well, Jamal, thank you for coming in and giving us an update. And we know how hard you work and how passionate you are about protecting the manatee population. So we hope that more people have been educated today.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
All right. We're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, life lessons from karate. That's coming up after the break, so stay tuned.